So when I read the script, I called my agent and said, whatever.
Wow.
It didn't really matter to me. And then he said, no, they want you to play Red.
Millions adore The Shawshank Redemption, a film about hope and friendship that, surprisingly, almost didn't make it to the big screen. What started as a quiet, introspective story has become a cinematic treasure, and there are fascinating behind-the-scenes tales that will change how you view Andy and Red's journey. Imagine this: Stephen King, the master of horror, gave the rights to his novella, Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, to an aspiring screenwriter, Frank Darabont, for just $1, a part of King's Dollar Baby program for heartfelt, lesser-known stories. This passion project moved forward with a unique sense of freedom. As Tim Robbins recalled, there was no pressure, no massive budget, just a group of people who believed in a story about redemption, with Darabont having full creative control, a rarity in Hollywood. Morgan Freeman aptly noted the irony of this side project becoming a film history staple. Even the studio that eventually distributed it, Columbia Pictures, was initially unsure how to market a prison movie without much action and a peculiar title. Yet this quiet little film remarkably climbed to the top spot on IMDb for years, cultivating a devoted, cross-generational following. But the story gets even more intriguing because the prison depicted wasn't just a set, it was a real, imposing structure that deeply affected the cast. Filming took place inside the Ohio State Reformatory, a formidable Gothic prison with a history of abuse and overcrowding. Clancy Brown, who played Captain Hadley, felt the oppressive atmosphere immediately, saying, "Walking through those gates, it was like the place swallowed you." The misery was still in the walls. Tim Robbins would immerse himself further, sitting alone in a cell between takes, allowing the silence to engulf him, which he said triggered a real sense of panic. Adding to the authenticity, many extras were former inmates of that very prison, their expressions carrying genuine memories. Even the prison itself was subtly transformed by the production team, appearing cleaner in flashbacks and grimmer as the story progressed. That intense realism you felt watching Shawshank wasn't just the setting. As Morgan Freeman put it, filming in such a real place blurred the line between make-believe and survival. Beyond the authentic location, the actors themselves layered profound, unspoken histories onto their characters. Morgan Freeman didn't just recite lines as read, he envisioned a past for him as a numbers runner in the black community of the late 1930s, a man of influence who had fallen from grace, which explained his knack for acquiring things and his silent efficiency. Freeman believed Red recognized a similar loss of power and prestige in Andy upon their first encounter. Tim Robbins went even deeper, crafting not one but two Andys, the controlled, stiff exterior everyone saw, and the determined, alive man who tunneled through walls and found solace in music. This duality subtly informed his performance. James Whitmore brought a personal touch to Brooks Hatlin, drawing on his own father's depression to create moments like the bird-feeding scene, a quiet memory rather than mere acting. It's these personal contributions that make the characters resonate so truthfully. Interestingly, the role of Andy nearly went to Tom Cruise, who even participated in table reads. However, Cruise, wary of working with a relatively new director, Frank Darabont, hesitated, opening the door for Tim Robbins, whose quiet intensity proved to be a perfect match for the film's tone. It's fascinating to think how different Andy's journey might have been with Cruise's more energetic presence. And in another surprising casting twist, the young inmate Tommy, whose testimony is pivotal, was initially going to be played by a very young Brad Pitt. Initially cast as Tommy, the young inmate who becomes crucial to Andy's case, was a young Brad Pitt on the cusp of stardom. However, the release of Thelma and Louise catapulted Pitt to fame, presenting him with bigger opportunities. Choosing to capitalize on this momentum, he stepped away from Shawshank. This opened the door for Gil Bellows, a newcomer who brought a raw and genuine vulnerability to Tommy, which director Frank Darabont felt no established star could have matched. This casting decision highlights how sometimes taking a chance on an unknown actor can yield remarkable results, and how one actor's departure can pave the way for another's breakthrough. It's hard to imagine Shawshank without Tommy's quiet yet pivotal presence, isn't it? Beyond the compelling narrative, The Shawshank Redemption is rich with subtle symbolism, often missed even by devoted viewers. Tim Robbins pointed out a recurring visual motif. Andy is frequently framed by bars, fences, or shadows resembling bars, even outside his cell, symbolizing not just physical confinement but also the psychological and spiritual cage of his innocence and the secret he carries. Unlike inmates who have accepted their fate, Andy's struggle is internal. Morgan Freeman illuminated the rooftop tarring scene, explaining it's not just a moment of fleeting freedom but the beginning of Andy earning the guards' trust by managing their finances, planting the seeds for his future escape as the prison's financial wizard. Even the famous line, "Reds, get busy living or get busy dying," was so central to the film that Darabont had it written on the production office wall, representing the core choice between hope and despair that underlies every scene. When Andy plays the opera, he chooses life. When Brooks carves his name before taking his own life, he chooses death. And those iconic posters in Andy's cell? They're more than just a cover for his tunnel. Tim Robbins revealed they chart Andy's 19-year emotional and mental journey. Rita Hayworth, the first poster, represents the innocence and old life Andy knew upon entering prison. Marilyn Monroe signifies a period of growing awareness of his confinement and the outside world. Finally, Raquel Welch as a primal cavewoman reflects Andy shedding societal constraints as he prepares for his raw escape. Director Frank Darabont confirmed this layered meaning, noting how the posters become progressively revealing, mirroring Andy's stripping away of his old identity. The final shot of the flapping Raquel Welch poster symbolizes the ultimate shedding of captivity. So, the next time you watch, pay close attention to those posters. They silently tell Andy's story. One of the subtle yet powerful storytelling elements in The Shawshank Redemption is its use of weather. As Morgan Freeman pointed out, rain often accompanies the film's darker moments, such as the initial attacks on Andy, the warden's demise, and Tommy's tragic death. In stark contrast, Andy's escape unfolds during a dramatic thunderstorm, mirroring the intensity of his breakout. Perhaps most poignantly, the final scene, where Red finds Andy in Mexico, is bathed in bright, clear sunshine, the only instance of truly beautiful weather in the entire film. Freeman noted that nearly every other outdoor scene is marked by clouds, rain, or a grayness, making the sunlight at the end a powerful visual representation of true freedom after the perpetual gloom of the prison. This subtle technique deeply affects the emotional tone without most viewers consciously realizing it. Shawshank exists in shadow, while liberation is illuminated. Speaking of powerful moments, the emotional climax for many is Red's decision to seek out Andy in Mexico, underscored by his resolute, "Get busy living or get busy dying." That's goddamn right. Surprisingly, Morgan Freeman revealed that this pivotal scene wasn't in the original script but was added late in the editing process, when Frank Darabont felt something vital was missing. Despite studio concerns about the film's length and initial suggestions to cut the reunion, Darabont insisted on including the bus scene where Red makes his life-altering choice. This addition fundamentally shifted the film's meaning, transforming it from solely Andy's physical escape to a dual narrative of liberation, with Red's mental and emotional breakthrough becoming equally significant. It's the moment where Shawshank transcends a tale of endurance and becomes a story of true redemption. Another unexpectedly impactful element is Brooks Hatlin's heartbreaking story, the elderly inmate who cannot adapt to life outside and tragically takes his own life. James Whitmore explained that Brooks was only briefly mentioned in Stephen King's novella, but Frank Darabont recognized in him the embodiment of institutionalization, someone so ingrained in the prison system that the outside world becomes terrifying. Expanding Brooks's role provided crucial emotional weight to Red's release, offering a stark contrast to Andy's enduring hope. Despite studio pressure to cut this subplot, Darabont insisted on its importance, arguing that Brooks's fear highlights Red's choice of hope. Brooks's simple message, "Brooks was here," becomes profoundly meaningful when Red later adds, "So was Red," a declaration that he will not succumb to the same fate. Warden Norton, chillingly portrayed by Bob Gunton, wasn't purely a fictional creation. Gunton shared that Darabont based the character on a real prison official known for his hypocrisy, publicly a moral Christian while privately exploiting inmates. This real-world inspiration explains Norton's duality, his Bible quoting alongside his cruelty, his obsession with appearances masking a corrupt core. Knowing this basis makes his dramatic downfall even more impactful, representing not just the loss of freedom but the shattering of his self-constructed righteous image. Finally, while many interpret the redemption in the title as Andy's escape, Tim Robbins offered a deeper perspective. It's about the redemption of humanity within a place designed to strip it away. Andy redeems his fellow prisoners by offering hope and purpose, and he redeems the spaces within Shawshank through his actions. Andy's actions within Shawshank, even as he plans his exit, elevate the prison itself. This perspective reframes the movie from a simple escape narrative into a deeper exploration of human dignity in dehumanizing environments. Morgan Freeman offered another layer to the concept of redemption, suggesting that Reds comes not just from leaving Shawshank, but from his honest confession to the parole board. His defiant declaration of not caring about their judgment marks his final authenticity after years of telling them what he thought they wanted to hear. This multifaceted understanding of redemption is key to the film's enduring impact, making it not just a prison break thriller but a story about reclaiming the human spirit from various forms of confinement, physical walls, deceit, fear, and ultimately, hopelessness. In a truly surprising revelation, the iconic ending, the uplifting beach reunion between Andy and Red, almost didn't happen. Frank Darabont disclosed that studio executives strongly advocated for ending the film with Red on the bus, believing the reunion was unnecessary and the film too long. They wanted to cut the beach scene entirely. However, Darabont fought for it, explaining that the film wasn't just about hope, but about hope realized. Without seeing Andy and Red together, the audience would be left with the same uncertainty that haunted Red throughout the film. Tim Robbins added that the final scene was actually the first one they filmed, a deliberate choice by Darabont to capture the slightly awkward yet genuine reconnection of old friends after a long separation, before Robbins and Freeman had fully developed their on-screen chemistry. This production decision lent an authentic, understated quality to the reunion. It's hard to imagine the film without this concluding scene, which, as Morgan Freeman pointed out, transforms Shawshank from a story about the idea of hope to the reality of it, making it far more powerful. The film's score, composed by Thomas Newman, is also a crucial storytelling element, subtly evolving to mirror the film's emotional arc. Tim Robbins noted that the music in the early prison scenes has an austere, almost mechanical quality. That austerity gradually gives way to warmth and even joy in the orchestration by the film's end. This musical evolution mirrors Andy's own journey from despair towards hope, a subtle shift that resonates emotionally. Just as Andy quietly smuggles hope into Shawshank, the music does the same, one note at a time. A particularly poignant musical moment underscores the Brooks was here sequence, where the tender, melancholic score amplifies the old man's isolation and fear. James Whitmore observed that the music doesn't dictate how to feel about Brooks but rather captures his profound confusion and sadness at finding himself free yet more imprisoned than ever. Thomas Newman's score, though nominated, lost the Academy Award to The Lion King, a decision many film scholars consider a significant oversight, given the enduring impact of Newman's emotionally complex composition. The journey of The Shawshank Redemption from a box office disappointment to a timeless classic is remarkable. Upon its 1994 release, it faced tough competition and underperformed commercially, earning only $16 million domestically against a $25 million budget. However, as Morgan Freeman explained, its true success came later, through cable television and VHS rentals. TNT's repeated airings led to viewers returning to it again and again, finding it a source of comfort. This word-of-mouth popularity grew, eventually leading to 7 Academy Award nominations and a theatrical re-release. Combined with international earnings, it ultimately grossed over $73 million worldwide. Tim Robbins reflected on the irony of a film about patience needing patience itself to be recognized, its rise mirroring Andy's slow path to freedom, digging its way into the public's heart one viewing at a time. By 2019, it consistently ranked among IMDb's greatest films, surpassing classics like The Godfather. What started as a flop became a cultural touchstone. Today, the Ohio State Reformatory, the actual prison where Shawshank was filmed, has undergone an incredible transformation into a popular tourist destination, drawing over 100,000 visitors annually. Tim Robbins marveled at this, noting the irony of a place once known for brutality now preserved because of a story celebrating human resilience. Visitors can walk the same corridors, see Andy's cell, and trace the route of his Hollywood-constructed escape tunnel, absorbing the haunting atmosphere. The prison's grim history has largely been overshadowed by its cinematic legacy, with Mansfield and the surrounding area embracing this identity, creating a Shawshank Trail that highlights filming locations. This tourism has revitalized the local economy. This journey, from a place of despair to a celebration of hope, adds another powerful layer to Shawshank's story. As the film quietly approaches its 30th anniversary, the question remains, why does it still resonate so deeply? Morgan Freeman believes it speaks to the universal feeling of being trapped, yet offers the promise of breaking free through patience and hope. Tim Robbins elaborated, noting that the film doesn't just preach hope but shows its difficulty and the risk of disappointment, making it deeply authentic. Director Frank Darabont summarized its enduring appeal as the focus on the things no one can take away: humanity, friendship, and the ability to find meaning in bleakness. In an age of fleeting entertainment, Shawshank endures because it feels timeless, revealing its greatness slowly, like Andy's tunnel, quietly reaching the collective consciousness. It reminds us why we love movies, for their reflection of our struggles and aspirations. The craftsmanship, from the real location to the character arc,